Hi, my name is Stephanie Rogers, and I'm the Executive and Artistic Director of the Anderson Center for Interdisciplinary Studies in Red Wing, Minnesota. And today I am talking with one of our former artists in residence. Melo Dominguez is an artist based in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm happy to have a chance to virtually chat with them today about their artwork and some of them about their time at the Anderson Center. Melo, can you tell the audience a little bit about your medium and how long you've been a working artist?
Hi, everyone. My name is Melo Dominguez, and I've been painting since I was a very small child. A lot of the things materials that I work with is acrylic and all things that you can paint with. So acrylic, spray paint, pastels, you name it. And I've been doing it really as a paid profession since like I was 15. I would do window paintings for restaurants and whatnot. And then, but this was during the time that I lived in Los Angeles. So I felt like a lot more opportunity for a working artist. So I went into like silk screens, movie production stuff, and some 3D, what do you call it, mask. So it's kind of strange, but it was cool.
That is really interesting and very cool. I'd love to know more about that. You covered some of how you got started as an artist, and I'm impressed that you've been getting paid for it since you were 15. When did you decide that you wanted to be an artist?
I believe that I knew what I wanted to be when I was 3 years old. I was sitting with my grandfather watching Popeye cartoons. And the way that they used to introduce cartoons back in the day was they'd have the animator come out and he'd sketch really quick a little scenario that Popeye was going to get involved with that day. And I knew that there was like a moral to the story on top of that. So I don't know how that came to my mind, but I instantly knew that if this grown man is creating the images and communicating through that and sharing a moral of the story, and my grandfather's laughing at some of the little jokes and things like that, I figured out that through art you can communicate with everybody, and it just became a passion for me. It was a form of communication for me.
And is there a point in your career when you felt like you had made it on some level, where you felt like, oh, I finally reached a point that I've been dreaming about since I was a kid?
Oh boy, I've had a lot of different moments like that. Because in Los Angeles, it was just saturated with folks coming from around the world who wanted to work in the industry. And so as a young person in East Los Angeles, trying to find their way, maneuvering what best way to be able to live my life, because I couldn't work behind a desk. I just couldn't. I could do construction, but I really couldn't do anything else. I felt like I needed to be an artist. And so when I finally made it was when I let myself be in the industry. Like I said, I'm going to get hired for this because I know what I'm doing. I'm keeping things straight and tidy. I know there's a lot of little things that were that I was able to do that a lot of other folks weren't able to do or didn't want to do. And when I say that, I know it sounds funny, right? And what it is that I wasn't like a egotistical kind of an artist. Like I would take the trash out. I would paint the buckets when they would come through. I would wash them out and stuff. I would clean the gunk out of the sink, and I would do a lot of the labor stuff. I wasn't just an artist. And I found that made the difference when hiring somebody like me.
I have heard that from different people who work with artists of all kinds. A friend of mine said, my wife isn't the best violinist in New York City, but she learns her music and she shows up for rehearsal on time. And when she signs a contract, she's going to be there. And so she's one of the most in-demand violinists in New York City.
Yeah, that's why volunteers are it. They're the mega of megas. I love volunteers because of that reason. They show up.
Awesome. So before we go any further, I just have to ask you about the amazing painting or mural behind you right now. Oh, Can awesome. You tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. So on the south side of Tucson, where I live now, Southside Tucson, sometimes there's these little pockets of folks that are lower income, or sometimes their parents don't have activities that they can take their children out to, the youth. And what they actually have down there is the Boys and Girls Club. And so me being raised in a community where you know, each one teach one, and having a location or a safe space for young people, I've always, as an adult, try to return what was gifted or whatever I was blessed with. I like to give back. So I made, there was a hip hop party that the 36th Street Boys and Girls Club was throwing. And I was like, oh my God, I want to get them to paint or do something like mural size. And I knew that spray paint's not a good idea because you need to put mask on everybody and gloves and all these things. So I did something really simple where the students could come forward and just paint with acrylics. And so I really outlined what's behind you. And it got so crazy because I didn't realize that there was, I figured maybe like 30, 40 kids on this Saturday. Oh no, they bust in everybody from all the other boys and girls club. And I had like over 80 kids like touch this canvas. So it was beautiful, but they ended up just coloring outside the lines, and it got kind of mushy in some spaces. But then at the very end, I was like, you know what, guys, just, you know, dip your hands in there and sign it for me. And so what I have here is a painting that was done with all their little handprints. And I brought it back home, and I cleaned it up, all the edges, and then I just outlined their little hands, and I made it like a lowrider. So it's in Southside, and the Southside, that's the culture. So not only do I have their little handprints, but they're like my young constituents, right? So we're building these other leaders right now. And that's their little signature on the painting.
Have you continued to work with some of those kids?
Yes, I make it a point to always donate my time to the youth and the community. So I've worked with the Living Streets Alliance here in Tucson. Sometimes the Boys and Girl Scouts, excuse me, there was only one time with the Boys and Girl Scouts, and it was during a water harvesting painting that we did with a lot of the schools, which the schools have brought me in as sort of a outdoor class or an art therapy. And we've done a lot of work that with the students where they're acknowledging that using visuals to teach students really has an impact with some of the other students that they learn differently. And so that's given me and the students opportunity to work together and learn a little bit together.
Yeah, so you've done some commercial artwork, and you do a lot of teaching artwork and art in community and building community, it sounds like. Are you still doing commercial work for different maybe business clients who need advertising or windows, things like that?
I've been asked to do a couple of commercial things, like some sticker designs for. A lot of times they're just scouting for designs, and so I might get paid for them, but they might not be produced. A lot of the other things that I've really been doing hasn't been for other people. Like 2 years ago, we decided, me and my partner, to open up a gallery in South Tucson. And so I've actually poured all my thoughts and ideas into the gallery space. So we've made almost like how they did this exit through the gift shop. So we have a gallery space and a little gift shop with all these locally made goods by myself and other artists in the community. And it's really been an awesome opportunity for all of us, not just myself, but for the community at large, the young scholars that are surrounding the area. So that's what I've been up to. A lot of the other commercial gigs have, I mean, really been with the University of Arizona, where I go into the Guerrero Center there, and I do art therapy with the students during their what is it called, when they do all their testing. I forget what it's called.
Oh, during finals week?
There you go, midterms and finals and everything. They bring me in as an art therapist, so it's a lot of fun, and I really engage with just a large age group of people, so it's pretty cool.
Sounds like you work hard and have a lot of fun.
Well, it's a lot of work to make it look like it's not fun, because then it doesn't get appreciated like work.
Are there recurring themes or images that you pull out in your different projects?
Yes. A lot of times, because of my environment, you'll see a cactus there just to show kind of landscape. A lot of times I'm painting Day of the Dead, because a lot of folks they can associate with death. And I think that's why there's a lot of people now celebrating the Day of the Dead with Mexican culture. And that's also been part of something that I've been able to take on and learn, is that a lot of folks, they grieve but they grieve by themselves. So the artwork that I produce, a lot of times it opens the doors for people to then grieve outwardly. And so that's been a big opportunity for me. But then a lot of my other just designs are really freestyle and like wacky. So I don't know if that's, you can consider that a reoccurring thing, but I like to keep it wacky.
It's really interesting that you are running a gallery space and working to promote the work of other artists. It seems like a thing a lot of artists do by nature is, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm misinterpreting, but creative people who are used to making something where something doesn't exist, they sometimes see gaps in the field or gaps in the community, and step in to provide those services in an artistic community or in their local culture. Is that one of the things you're still continuing to focus on in the next year going forward?
Absolutely. That's the one of the things that I've learned growing up in the inner city of East LA, all the way down here to Tucson, Arizona, and that is to create social equity. And in my environment in the city of South Tucson, they were lacking a gallery space. So yes, that's what I'm going to continue to do. I hope that the situation we're in now as a global community, that it could be calmed and resolved, and we get to a better place. But right now, the exercise for this, what day is it? For these past 2 months, we've been strategizing what the gallery's new form will take, because now we don't know how long we can actually maintain this space because due to the situation. But it's actually exercises to then do this where we're zooming with everybody. And so it's still steering towards the social equity and really just sharing this space, because there's so much for everybody. And a lot of times folks will say to me, well, I'm not an artist. And I'm like, you don't have to be. But what I'm sharing with you as an artist is to envision the imaginary. And you could do that with a lot of things. Like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. Well, let's imagine how you will. And so there's an artistic way to doing a lot of these things and introducing them to different people who may not think that they're artistic. And the fact of the matter is that's one of our last true freedoms. And it's one of the things that we need to exercise right now as a people is how are we going to envision ourselves getting back to work and back out together? What is it going to look like? And so, yes, you're going to see me be doing a lot of fun things here on the internet. But that's one of the things I wanted to do is show people or be a mentor to the young people who are coming next, so that they don't feel alone in their aspirations and passions and things, but that they could stand on my shoulder and like I'll help them get up there.
That's awesome. I can definitely look back in my career and think of all kinds of people who helped me
Right.
stand on their shoulders or help map out a possible path that I didn't know you could have a life or a career like that. So that's awesome and sounds really interesting. I'll look forward to following your work. And you did some work with students in Red Wing. Part of why we're talking is that you were an artist in residence here, and I wanted to have a chance to get to know you and your work better and catch up. When were you in residence at the Anderson Center?
Oh my God, I think I want to say it was 2017. And I had been to the Anderson Center twice before, but only in a week residency. And I want to say that the Women's Art History Club they sponsored those trips, and I'm so grateful because they really expanded my mind. I never, as an artist or even in general, would have been like, I'm gonna go to Red Wing to Tower. I would have just known the shoes, or the boots. But the two activities I did, I think it's like a spring festival that was taking place in April, and it was a really cool experience because I had never been to Minnesota or even really looked up anything on it. And so getting the Anderson Center and the history, I was like, oh my, it was huge for me. It was huge for me. And then the second time, it was when Robert Hadin was he was like, I'm retiring. I'm finishing here. It's somebody else's turn now. And so that was fun too, because then they had the book festival, and I met some of the most amazing authors and illustrators, and a lot of friends. I met so many friends that I have there now. And then so when I was asked to then do a month-long residency, I was like, oh my God, yes, because you get to stay in the residence where Mr. Anderson lived. So the whole thing, just being there, the experience. I met artists from Mexico, Israel, China, and someone from California that he knows everybody that I know, but we didn't know each other. So it was very nice. It was a great experience. We had our studios to ourselves. I mean, I've when you asked me earlier, when did you know you had made it? It's when I made it to the Anderson Center. When I felt that, I was like, wow, I'm in the United States and they appreciate art. I was like, that's amazing. And then just a total dream, being around, walking the landscape, the environment there, the sculptures that there are just out all over in the pathways, knowing that the Mississippi starts on the other side, realizing how many mosquitoes you get. I mean, it was it was amazing. And when I was asked, that part of my residency included working with the students at the alternative high school at Tower View, it was amazing, because then I got to share my knowledge of things and my artistic views with these young people. And it was really cool because they're just a community that I never would have had any network. There would have been no networking there, because the friends that I know, they're, and don't hate me for this, friends out there in Minnesota, but they were over 50. They were over the age of 50. So I met the youth that was under 20. So it was a different experience. They told me a lot about what quarantine feels like when they get snowed in. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, snow days are a feature in all of our schools, including the alternative high school. But the students at Tower View Alternative School they keep us all on our toes and sharp in all the best ways. They're smart and curious and figuring all kinds of things out. So I have loved seeing the work that you made with them, and we love getting to work with them and support them, and we miss them right now because they're all at home doing their work remotely too.
yeah, matter of fact, some of those young people are my friends on Instagram. So we 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 might not message each other or anything, but we see what each other's posting and whatnot. So it's nice to see some of them get older. I think someone now has a child and stuff, so I get to still be part of their lives. As a matter of fact, I'm still in contact with the Marble Man. His name is Tom Fletcher. I don't know if you know him.
I do, yeah.
He's my homeboy. We chit chat online all the time, and he's such a sweetheart. He emails me and things, but these are the type of friends that I've made at the Anderson Center, and I'm like, I never would have had that if it wasn't for Anne Marie and David. And that relationship, that friendship, it it means a lot to me, and it's made a difference in my life.
What an amazing way for you to give back, just as you were talking about earlier, that you're continuing to set a good example for the students who've come through Tower View, through your social media, and showing them what else is possible through your community in Arizona. You know, you talk about the landscape and the mosquitoes that you wouldn't have known. There's all kinds of amazing bluffs and rock formations and things that we don't get to experience here. So
Oh yeah.
that's amazing. Could you talk just a little bit more about how you got connected with David Husum and Anne Marie Rose?
Yes, well, they were on one of their adventures. They've been on many adventures, and one of those adventures led them to Tucson, Arizona. And as I mean, they're just some of the coolest people. But during their travels, they found a restaurant called the Tucson Tamale Company, and it's kind of like a little hole in the wall on one of the main streets here in Tucson, and on Broadway in Tucson. And so what they entered was the Tucson Tamale gave me the opportunity to be their resident artist. So I had all of their wall. I had over 60 feet of wall space, and and then because me and my partner go back and forth on ideas, she's like, Mel, you should make postcards. And I said, let's do it. And so it was one of the things that we reinvested in ourselves as artists and creators. And the postcards is what took off. That's something that Anne Marie and David picked up. I made little small houses and I made postcards, and they bought that postcard and they went home and they thought about it. And when they came back, they said, let's meet the artist this time. Let's see if we could meet Mel. And I was working from home at that time. I didn't have a gallery space. And I got this random phone call, and it's this older woman named Anne Marie. And she's like, I see your stuff at the Tucson Tamale. Do you have any more work? And I'm like, well, I'm in charge of all 3 locations. You can go visit them, or some of my work is online. And she's like, no, do you have any work at your studio? And since it was a work at home studio, I was kind of like, how are we going to do this? Because my house is crazy. I got all my material and all my stuff all over the place. And so she finally did come and make it over to my home. And her and David were looking through my things. And it made me very nervous because when you look at my art, you're really looking at my soul, my internal being. And so to have them in my safe space, I was kind of nervous, but they made me feel really comfortable. And I didn't realize, I mean, just the depths of these folks and their knowledge of things, and that they were interested in my work. And so I ended up selling her a large piece of artwork that she has in her home now. And when I went to go to these residencies and visit, I actually looked at their art collection, and I'm impressed. And to know that I'm part of that collection is a huge honor for me. But beside them being collectors, they're just really great people to know and network with. She introduced me to the Women's Art History Club there, and that was amazing because that's another experience I never would have had, and that is being in a circle of women talking about cool things like art. I'm like, I've never done that. and so it was really, really cool. And to be even just share the stories of their lives, and what they were studying at that time was fashion. So that was cool. I learned a lot. And again, I'm maintaining this friendship with folks in Minnesota. I had no idea how friendly folks were in Minnesota, and that you can cross the border. You can go to, what is it? It's Minnesota and it's Wisconsin. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. And then there's like bars everywhere. I'm like, this is great. Like, so it was just an awesome experience. And we maintain a friendship. They send me postcards. I send them postcards. I mean, it's really awesome. They've done a lot for me spiritually in my soul and things. And I'm so glad to know them and thank them for introducing me to the community that they have there at the Anderson Center.
I love that story. You put something really small, just a little postcard, out into the world, and good things came back to you. It's so great to hear the history of that connection. If you were giving advice to a young aspiring artist, what would you tell them?
Oh gosh, do not be afraid to experiment and paint whatever you're feeling inside. To just paint all of it. Experiment with everything. Focus on what you enjoy most about what you're doing, and then edit yourself, so that way you're not a collector of art material, but you're a working artist.
Awesome. And then do you have any goals for your future work? Like, you've had a lot of success, and is there anything else that you're reaching towards and hoping for is coming next?
Well, because of the quarantine, it's really forced a lot of us to rethink how we think and do business. And my business is art. So what I'm aspiring to do is really focus on how I present myself live on Zoom. Because it's something that I'm passionate about too, and that is sharing and storytelling and making space. So those are the future things. But if this all clears up, there's about 7 projects that you'll see coming up. A lot of them is getting people that are inside, outside. And it was called the Reach program. We're trying to get people to walk, skate, and bicycle. And what Living Streets Alliance was getting to work with me is that making rotondas, paintings on the street, to then slow down traffic. There's a project over at one of the local schools where we're going to paint the bus bay. There was some educational information about water and gardening. So there's still some things that have just purely been postponed. So when we get the all clear, you're going to see like the Soul Train line over here in Tucson and bicycles and all these things. And so those are the things that I'm moving forward with, is the possibility of painting these projects outdoors with these students and young scholars, and producing a lot of this online, what do you call it? Like maybe like a show or a teaching kind of thing. But we're still working on that strategy because I feel like there's a lot of people doing that right.
It has been so fun to talk to you, and I am going to look forward to seeing these projects come to fruition and seeing your creativity continue to grow in these new challenging times. Can you tell audiences here where they can find you online?
melodominguez.com, the Galeria Mitotera.com, or on Facebook or Instagram, it's Melo Dominguez. And you can also follow on Instagram, the Galeria Mitotera. And that's how you can find me.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And we hope you get to travel back to Red Wing.
Oh, me too. I would love to come back.
This has been Stephanie Rogers talking with Melo Dominguez in Tucson, Arizona. I am in Red Wing, Minnesota, and this project is part of the Artistic Response Team of Red Wing, a collaboration between the Anderson Center, Art Reach, Red Wing Arts, Sheldon Theater, and Universal Music Center. Ciao.